Qualifying first, Californian Jess Stayrook. He's had a record-breaking week and can go over the $250,000 mark in career earnings with a win today.
The Budweiser Touring Players Championship, the final show of the PBA Fall Tour. We're certainly happy to have you on hand. And hello, everybody, Jay Randolph, and alongside the old left-hander, Earl Anthony. Earl, we'll talk about Bowler of the Year a little later on, but you are the old left-hander. Talk to me about the way left-handers have dominated this week.
And boy, how they have, Jay. I wish I'd have bowled this week. I might have had a chance to get a check. Of the top 24 players, 10 were left-handed. Of the top 5 today, 3 are left-handed. The scores have been fantastic. I expect to see some more of that today.
Some of these names maybe not as familiar as some of the stars on the PBA Tour, but 3 of them have 300 games this week. There's a lot of talent in this fivesome.
Maybe not names you'd recognize right away, Jay, but these players are stars of the future, and I'm very sure you're going to see a lot of them in the near future.
Well, we look forward to the excitement, and let's get right to our first match. It's Scott Bevers going up against David D'Entremont. Bevers and D'Entremont. There's D'Entremont on the left, Scotty Bevers on the right. Bevers out of Richmond, Indiana, 5'11", 145, 28 years old. He has won over $80,000 this year, a 213.8, qualifying 5th. And he opens with a strike on lane 39.
And Scotty is the most experienced of the players, Jay. He's had a lot more television experience than any of the others, and you can expect him to have a chance to go all the way because he's done it in the past. It's not something he's unfamiliar with.
231.9 for D'Entremont, second career championship round appearance. Start off in fine fashion in this $150,000 Touring Players Championship. D'Entremont at age 29 out of Cleveland, 8 years a PBA member.
And when we talk it, we've mentioned it's the Touring Players Championship, and I think the folks at home should know that what that means is it's a limited field. It's limited to only the players that have bowled at least half of the tournaments this year. By a touring player, that means you have to be out here making a living at it.
And this, a major, with that 3-year exemption into the Firestone if you win. And it goes down.
And that's great pin action there. He doesn't expect to see that 8-pin standing to begin with and then have it come off the wall and kick it out. Here's a good look at that. You can see where he's playing between the second and third arrow. And watch the pin action. You see the head pin go to the wall, and it kicks out the back row, and it comes back out of the pit.
And he liked it very much. 9 300 games here this week. On lane 40, Scotty Bevers takes them all down. And this is shaping up the way we thought it might.
It looks good. And Scotty Bevers playing that extreme outside angle way out by the edge of the lane. He's actually looking at the 2 board, which is 2 boards inside the channel. Doesn't leave much room for error. But Scotty always hits a little bit inside of his target. So if he's looking at the second board, he's probably hitting around the 4th or 5th.
This is the 3rd Budweiser-sponsored tournament of 1990 on the PBA Tour. So close to the channel, and he's got a bit of a problem, the 3-7.
Here's a good look. Now, that ball did almost go in the channel, as you can see, and Scotty got a little wider than he wanted there. And if you get it right on the edge of the lane, that's the only place on the lane that actually has a penalty area. Around that first board, right on the edge, there's a little more oil, and the ball won't hook back.
Bevers, a PBA member for 8 years. Well, this has been the year of the gutter ball. And some of you may have missed last week's show as Scott Bevers is open here in the 3rd, leaving the 3-7. Something happened last week at Milwaukee involving the ever interesting Marshall Holman. We're going to show you that a little later on. Holman's Terrible Turkey, they're calling it.
Thanksgiving weekend, it fits.
That's coming up later. Right now, speaking of turkeys, there we go.
There we go. And The penalty here is if you make a mistake, as Scotty Bevers did, it's very difficult to catch up. All the players throwing a lot of strikes, as evidenced by the scores this week. All the scoring records that were broken. It was a fantastic week for the fans here in Detroit.
D'Entremont has won over 30,000 this year.
He's got to hurry.
And he comes up a little short. Leaves a 2-8.
It's a tough spare here. The idea is to get both pins with the ball. He'll try to just move it a little bit off his strike line and get the ball almost coming in at the same angle he would for a strike, but just hook it a little more.
He converts. Bevers and D'Entremont. Bevers down by 24 in our opening match, and we'll be back right after these messages.
NBC Sports coverage of the PBA Fall Tour is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers. With that clean, crisp, cold taste, nothing beats a Bud. By Brunswick, proud sponsor of Team USA. By Crest, the dentist's choice to help keep your teeth tartar-free. And by your Toyota dealers and their quality line of cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me.
We're looking at David D'Entremont, who just left a 7-10 split in the 5th and is open there. His lead is down to 11. Bevers with a spare in the 4th and a strike in the 5th. And now D'Entremont in the 6th frame. You see his lead is 11. And he comes back with a big strike. His highest finish prior to losing to Ernie Schlegel in the title match of the '89 ARC Benoli California Open. His highest finish prior to that was 6th at the True Value Open in Indianapolis in '88. Now Scott Bevers. And Scott very much in it. Made 3 telecasts in a row on the summer tour. Finished 3rd at the Quality Inns International in Edmond, Oklahoma.
Here's a good look at the unique style of Scott Bevers. That very unusual arm swing. He's playing, as I mentioned, way out on the edge of the lane and actually going up to the pins. The only mistake he's really made was when he got one a little too wide on this lane and didn't get it back to the pocket.
Bevers won in El Paso. Action there. Bevers now with 3 in a row. He has the lead of 9, and we'll have more from Taylor, Michigan right after this. Danger on Sports World today, except out on the West Coast. 3 brave climbers using just their bare hands try to climb the Monkey Face Spire in Yosemite National Park. It's never been accomplished before. And then a group of explorers descend into New Zealand's deepest cave. 90 minutes of danger. That's coming up next on Sports World. Charlie Hodges, our good friend from St. Louis, Missouri, the Budweiser sports marketing coordinator, fellow who really enjoys bowling. It's good to have him here. Right now, D'Entremont. He had a strike in the 6th. He's down 9 pins, bowling in the 7th frame. He defeated Bevers in match play, as you see, by 6. Well, a strike on 40. He had that 7-10 split earlier in the match.
And here's a good look at the style. Watch the foul line. You get a great shot from behind and also from the side. And see the swing coming to the inside to get the leverage, get the rotation he needs to play between the 2nd and 3rd arrow. Good balance at the foul line, and that's important. You have to have the balance to make those good shots.
A very tight match. Earl, the folks at home might wonder about the shoes. One red, one white, 2 different shoes that he wears. He's got to hurry. 2 pin.
He got that one quite a bit wider than he normally would, Jay. Just made a mistake there. Didn't quite get it back to the pocket.
There's his Mrs. Sylvia, who's on hand today. Talk about those shoes he wears. That's not unusual that the fellas would do that.
It's not unusual. It is a little bit unique. The reason for it is very simple. The player will change his sliding shoe based on the approaches. And what he's trying to do there is make sure, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, that he does have good balance in that slide area near the foul line. And he'll get a shoe that if the approaches are a little sticky, he'll get one that'll slide a little more. If they're a little bit slippery, he'll get one that he can get a little more foundation or a little more balance.
And good pin action for Scott Bevers.
Here's a real good shot now of Scott Bevers. Now watch how close to the edge of the lane he's playing. He almost walks left and then drifts back to the right with his feet. Look at that. Now that is teasing the edge. And Scotty has a very unique style in his arm swing and also in his position at the foul line. He stands up at the foul line. He does a lot of things wrong, but he gets a great ball reaction on the lane, and he's one of the top left-handers on the tour.
And a strike in the ninth for Bevers. The lead is 20.
Well, early on in the match, Jay, it looked like D'Entremont was going to run away with it. He started with 3 in a row. Scotty had the double, then the open. Now Scotty has strung 5 in a row through 9 frames.
A strike for D'Entremont in the ninth.
Still anybody's match. At this point, going into the 10th frame, D'Entremont can shoot 234 if he strikes out. Scotty Bevers going at a 234 pace right now.
Having his best year in earnings with over 30,000. His best finish this year came a couple of weeks ago at the Brunswick Memorial World Open when he finished 9th. 111,000 plus in his career.
And he's coming through when he has to, Jay. 2 more strikes to force Scotty Bevers to get the first strike in the 10th.
High game of 298. Average 272.5 on the TV pair. Has really had some tremendous scoring.
272. That's remarkable.
Mm-hmm. Looking good.
All right, now he's worked hard to get to this point. This is the key strike. He must have this one, fill all 10 for a 234 score, which would force Scotty Bevers to strike on his first ball in the 10th frame to win the match. You see that rotation. Hit him thin, get him dancing down there. The chances of striking are very good. Today's bowling balls on today's lane conditions, that's the hit you want.
6'1", 230 pounds. They call him Double D. What a way to finish. A 234 for David D'Entremont. Squarely up to Bevers. He must strike to win. Got him. He and Marshall Holman were in a dandy match in the position round last night. Bevers lost that match, but did hold on for 5th place.
Marshall almost got there again. Would have been back-to-back for him. Here's a good look at that shot that Scotty had to make that great shot. He did. And again, that experience that I mentioned before of being here in this position many times more than the other players is paying off.
Left to 6.
And the scores we expected, Jay, the high scores, and I think they'll continue. Only one right-hander left out of the to compete for the championship, and that being young Mike Miller with that unique style, which we'll show you later.
Bevers had strung together 6 strikes before leaving that 6. His score of 243 is going to move him up into our next match. So it is Devers over D'Entremont. Devers will go against Mike Miller when we come back.
On December 8th, Brian Voss, Lisa Wagner, and some amateur think they're going to take my crown from me. Well, I'll tell you right now, that shootout, it's mine. And if they want it, they better come and get me.
And that's a week from today, that unique roll-off where the stakes go up as the pins go down. And it'll come your way with $150,000 in prize money, the bowling shootout next Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, only on NBC Sports World. Devers a winner, 243 to 234 over D'Entremont. Scotty finishing up in fine fashion to get the victory and move on against Mike Miller. Miller, a young man from Albuquerque, New Mexico, on the left. And Earl, you're going to have fun watching him along with our viewers at home, and we'll talk about this young man and how he has changed his style. Right now, Devers to start this match on lane 39. Left-handed swing gets him a strike to open things up.
All right, now here's your first look at Mike Miller, and this is, if you talk about unique styles, Scotty has his unique arm swing and his approach pattern, but watch this, folks, no thumb hole, just his fingers in the ball. He'll roll it back with it, using his elbow to roll the ball back up onto his forearm and palm the ball, and there you go.
He made that change at the end of the summer tour, the two-fingered delivery. And
there's a look at his bowling ball. As you can see, what's wrong with this picture, folks? There's something missing.
It's just looking at you.
And there's a good look at his grip. You see his thumb, the ball almost lays in the palm of his hand, only the two fingers being used to release the ball.
Earl, this new style gives him more revolutions ultimately, doesn't it?
That's what it's for. He feels that he can get more revs on the ball. He didn't feel he could compete with the players on the tour because his ball didn't hit hard enough. Now with this style, he feels he can compete with anyone, and it could be something that'll get him his first win.
Miller opening with a double.
There's a good look at the profile from the side. You see him bend the elbow, carry the ball almost on his forearm. Still has that great balance and follow through that he's always had, but this extra revolutions on the bowling ball is what's made the difference for Mike Miller.
And a strike for Scott Devers.
One more thing about that release of Mike Miller, he's been lifting weights, he's been working out quite a bit to build up the strength in his shoulders and forearms so that he can do this. It takes a lot of strength to roll the ball in this manner. Not something I'd recommend for most bowlers.
Miller comes from a bowling family.
Boy, does he ever.
We'll talk a little about that. His sister, who bowled on the ladies tour. And Devers, another strike, and Scotty opens with 3. Miller's first championship round of his career. His sister is Dana Miller Mackey, 8-time LPBT champion, current U.S. Open winner. And Mike's dad, G.L. Miller, who's known as Gub, is a very active participant, as you know, Earl, on the senior tour. Well, both have opened with 3 in a row. $27,000, the championship check. Here's a look at him head on. You're looking right at him.
You see the wrist roll around the ball. That's the reason he wanted to change to this style, to get his wrist involved with the shot more, which he couldn't do with the thumb hole in the ball. He felt he wasn't capable of that, and by taking the thumb hole out and just using his fingers and using his wrist rotation, he gets the extra revolutions, the extra hit in the back end.
A 300 game here on Friday. Gotta hurry. Oh, look at that. Came up short, but got the action. Mike Miller, with 4 in a row, has a 10-pin lead. We'll be back with more of the firing here in Taylor in a moment. Seeing a lot lot of strikes here today, but let's take you back to last week. Red carpet celebrity lanes in Milwaukee. Marshall Holman into the channel. One of the best in the business making a mistake. Well, then watch this in match 3, second frame. Hard to believe we saw this.
I still have trouble believing this happened. But that's not the most amazing part, Jay.
Seconds later,
he comes right back. Same guy. Three times.
an astounding turn of events for Marshall, but he's looking forward to that shootout in Atlantic City. And now we come back. Miller picking up the 10-pin. Bevers left the 7, but got the spare in the 5th. And this match dead even as we are in the 5th frame, match 2. Bevers with a 233.9 average to make the television finals this week. Had that 243 game to win the opening match, 8 strikes. Miller delivers. And the 7 will not go down. Boy, he had a tough break there.
He did, Jay. He rolled the ball well, and one of the penalties of the big hook and the extra revolutions is you have to make sure you get the ball well down the lane, which he did, but then it comes in behind the head pin, and you sometimes don't get the break with the pin action. The 5-pin actually goes sideways rather than into the 7.
Talk about the family and the bowling tradition. It was really his mother, Dolores, that got everybody bowling. Ooh.
And here's the only time he uses his thumb hole. He has another ball drilled with a thumb hole in it, so when he shoots his spares, he doesn't hook the ball, obviously, near as much. He goes right at him with a lot of ball speed.
Devers up by 1. David D'Entremont picking up $6,000, finishing 5th as Devers defeated him.
Look out.
2-4-7. They're in line for him.
One of the more difficult spares for a left-hander. This one, he'll go cross lane, and he'll try to get the ball to go between the 2 and the 4, let the 4 take out the 7. Scotty, one of the better spare shooters on the tour.
Good job.
And here's a good look at Scott from the front. And as I mentioned, he'll go cross lane, more ball speed. And the idea on any spare is just to get the ball to hit the pins. You don't have to throw a big, strong, hooking bowling ball. Just hit them. And obviously, it's easier to do and maintain your accuracy if you use a little more ball speed and go straight.
Devers, his television career statistics, 12-9. And the strike on 39. Beyond the foul line, coming up with Earl Anthony. He's going to talk about synthetics against wood surfaces. We'll be back right after these messages from your local station. There's regional action. Check your local listings for the games in your area tomorrow. The NFL on NBC. Mike Miller had the 300 game here this week, had a 300 game in St. Louis and also in Chicago. Knocks them all down on lane 40. Oh, Earl, we've had a lot of new players that have made the TV finals this fall on the NBC tour. Brad Kazuski in Rochester and Doug Kent in St. Louis. Jimmy Johnson won in Chicago. And Kelly Kaufman in Milwaukee last week. And now this young man, Mike Miller. Some new faces that we're probably going to see more of in the future.
I think there's no question about it, Jay. These are all very talented young players. They're getting the experience that's necessary to compete on the PBA Tour, and it does require some experience to bowl against the best players in the world.
A little high, and he's left a 6-10 here in the 8th frame. Talking about the new faces, Rookie of the Year, one of the important honors, Jimmy Johnson with 50,000 plus. Mike Shady, Brad Kazuski. Some of the other names that have had fine seasons in their first year on tour.
Well, we got another tight one going here. It's only 2 pins separating these two bowlers. And it's getting down to those crucial frames, the 8th, 9th, and 10th. Scotty on a strike, a chance to take the lead here with this ball in the 8th frame. And he did it. Now, here we go, 9th frame for Scotty. And his style, and there's a look at the score as you see it now. His style, again, is so unique. It's worth another look. And as he starts his arm swing, his push away, you'll see his hand is actually in front of the ball, and then he turns it back to get his hand behind it in the back of his swing. He wanders around on the approach. He stands up at the foul line, and he still averaged 233 this week. So it's not how you get there. As long as you get there the same way every time is the most important thing.
Scotty doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve the way some people do. That's about as demonstrative as he gets with that strike right there. He's a very level competitor. He never lets his attitude beat him.
That's a good point, Jay. He does control his emotions extremely well. You can see him biting his lip there. That shows a little of the nervousness that he has at this point. Mike Miller, 9th frame, needs some strikes to get back into the match now.
Looking good.
And that's the kind of a strike that Mike couldn't get until he switched his style. On that particular hit, he probably would have left the bucket or a 7-pin or something like that. And here's a good look at that strike in the 9th frame.
Look at that rotation.
Tremendous rotation of his wrist creates that ball rotation, and there's the pin action you get when the ball is rotating that hard coming into the pocket area. Really representing the Miller family well. His first chance to get a title here, and as we've mentioned already, his sister Dana Miller is one of the top bowlers on the ladies tour. His father Gub bowls on the seniors, and his mother was a professional lady bowler. And what a bowling family. In fact, the only one that hasn't bowled 300 in the family is his mother, and so maybe Mike can bowl another one for her one of these
she
days.
Got it all started, so
here's a chance to take the lead now.
Gotta hurry. Now he has a problem, a 210. Shaking his head. Didn't get it there.
Here's a good look at that again. You see the oil picking up on the ball. He got a little wide of his target. The ball didn't quite get back. Got it out into the oiled area where there's a little more than he expects to get the ball back from that far out.
235 for Mike Miller. A little disgusted with himself as the way he's finished.
Again, remember all the gutter balls we've had this fall. Scott Bevers playing that dangerous angle right near the edge of the lane. Must have a mark to win.
He struck in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. 10th frame on 40.
Look out.
Oh, wow. That looked like he might be in trouble, Earl, but he got the pin action he needed.
I don't think Scotty liked that shot, and he just took a deep breath and let it out because he feels, you can see him shaking his head, he feels he made a mistake there. The ball's inside of his target. It is set up for him. I think he was more surprised than any of us that he got this strike. Big break in the 10th frame for Scott Bevers.
And he is a winner in this match. And will move on to face Dwayne Fisher.
Remember, he's done this before, ladies and gentlemen. Scott Bevers has come from the bottom of the pack to go all the way, and he's still in position to do it today.
Doesn't happen very often out here.
Doesn't
it's a
happen
tough road to hoe, I'll tell you.
It sure is. To beat 4 of the top players that are having a good week, or they wouldn't be in the telecast, Scotty is really doing a job today.
Bevers delights this crowd with a score of 266, and he defeats Mike Miller, his score at 235. Match 3 coming up right after this.
Time now for Beyond the Foul Line with Earl Anthony, presented by the American Bowling Congress.
Did you know that not all lane surfaces in this country are made out of wood? Even though wood has been the industry standard for well over 100 years, about 10% of the lane beds in this country now are made out of a synthetic material very similar to this. And even though it might look very similar to wood, and the ball might react very similar to wood, there are some major differences, especially in the approach area. Many bowlers have problems with the approaches being a little stickier than they're used to, or maybe even a little more slippery than they're used to. And the best adjustment you can make, or any of us can make, is to move up closer to the foul line, anywhere from 12 to 18 inches, take shorter steps, and that way you'll maintain your balance and be capable of making that good shot that you're used to making.
Scott Bevers, a winner, 266 to 235 over Mike Miller. Miller picks up his biggest check ever, $7,000 for finishing in the number 4 spot. Bevers with 6 strikes to end the match, and Bevers has averaged 254.5 in the first 2 matches. He's on fire here at the Budweiser Touring Players Championship. Along with Earl Anthony, Jay Randolph here at the Taylor Lanes, Taylor, Michigan. Great bowling area here, always a tremendous turnout. They've had a wonderful week here. They had well over 1,600 in the Pro-Am, the highest amateur entry on the fall tour. And I should remind everybody that balloting for the PBA Senior Player of the Year is underway, with the man who sits next to me, 3-time 1990 senior champion Earl Anthony, a very strong contender for those honors. Good luck, sir.
Thank you, Jay.
We're going to talk about Player of the Year honors a little later. Right now, on 39, Bevers starts it out with a strike. Your first look at a young man from Gloucester Township, New Jersey, Dwayne Fisher. Nothing but left-handers left.
We've eliminated all the right-handers, Jay. Both of them are gone, even though they average in the mid-230s for their 2 games. It wasn't enough to beat Scotty Bevers. Here's a look at the style of one of the top young left-handers on the tour. And you'll remember Scotty is playing clear out near the edge of the lane, looking at the 2, 3, 4 board area. This young man is looking at the 3rd arrow. And he, along with our tournament leader, Jess Stayrook, are playing 3rd arrow or deeper, and they have been all week. Jess Stayrook playing the 4th arrow most of the week.
Fisher with a 300 game here and an average of 245.5 on the TV pair. 6 years a PBA member, 28 years of age. His first championship round appearance of this year, second of his career. He and Parker Bone finished second to Mike Albee and Steve Cook at the '89 Showboat Doubles Classic out in Las Vegas.
Here's a young man that really can rotate the ball, and he uses, again, that wrist to come around the side and up through the back of the ball to get that rotation. He's a little nervous out there, Jay, and until he gets a little more acclimated to what's happening, it's a good chance for Scott Bevers to jump out in front. Here's a look at his style from the side, the good long arm swing. Now watch the wrist rotation at the bottom, right there.
He's planning on leaving the tour after this week to pursue some other career advantages and opportunities. He's one of the most respected bowlers in the PBA's Eastern region. Wondering, Earl, if he could win here today, whether he might change his mind about leaving, but he'd have some time to think about it over the winter months anyway.
Well, here's the young man with the hot hand. Scott Bevers, again playing right on the edge of the lane. That end-over-end roll that carries so well. Just as soon as I said it, what happens?
Well,
carries so well, the solid 8.
There's the 8.
That happens when the ball actually cuts through the pins. It's rolling at that. He's coming in again from that extreme outside angle. The ball is rolling heavily end over end, doesn't deflect. And he actually, the ball as it goes through, chops the 5 pin off the 8, takes it straight back. Scotty doesn't want to keep Dwayne Fisher in this match very long. Now, Dwayne's nervous. You've seen that. He's made a couple of errant deliveries that have gone through the middle of the headpin. Had some easy spares, and he picked them up. But if he gets relaxed, this young man can throw a lot of strikes. So Scotty better not keep him in here too long. He's got to get it going early. Put pressure on Dwayne Fisher.
Oh, and now big problems for Bieber all of a sudden. Left that solid 8 in the second. Here's a 4-6-10 lead.
All right, now here's a look at that. Now watch the ball go into that, again, that heavy end-over-end roll and right through the heart of the headpin. And as Jay's mentioned, the 4-6-10. And that's just a mental error by Scott Bevers. The lanes haven't changed. He just let that ball down a little bit early, and it's a very costly mistake on high-scoring lane conditions.
Opportunity for Fisher to really get himself in shape early. Big strike for him.
And as so often happens, when one player makes a mistake, the other player jumps on him with both feet. Now, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Fisher came back with a double here, which normally happens. You make a mistake, and they come right out and get you.
Wife Sue looking on. Sue and Dwayne have 2 children, Ryan and Kyle. It's one of the reasons they tell me that he's decided to leave the tour. He wants to spend more time with his family. He has an associate degree in business from Camden County Community College in New Jersey. And Fisher making a move, up by 22. And he's always there, it seems.
He's a very steady player.
Steve won. Rulick from St. Charles, Missouri, picked up 1850. His family was here with him this week. Norm Duke.
Yeah, he wanted to say hi to Mom. He always does. All the players out. It's a lonely existence.
Hook and Bob Hanley from down in Pompano Beach. And Mr. Roth gets a check this week.
Yeah, there's 2 Hall of Famers right alongside each other there.
George Branham III out of Indianapolis picked up $2,700. He's a fine talent. Mike Albee, $3,200. Pete McCordick's been bowling very well.
Except for one shot, Jay, that 4-pin last week.
Wow. Walter Ray Williams. And Marshall Holman, as we told you. It was a big battle last night with Scott Bevers. Beat Bevers, but Bevers was able to hold on for 5th place. Marshall finishing 6th. Don't forget, Marshall is the defending champion of the shootout. You'll see it a week from today on NBC Sports World. $150,000 up for grabs. And a strike for Bevers, who was down 22. A strike in the 4th.
And the pins crashing in the background that you hear are our tournament leader, Jess Stayrook, on the alternate pair, warming up for his match against the winner of this one.
And Bevers strikes on 39, and the lead is cut to a dozen.
Just a couple of small mental errors by Scotty has got him in the hole, and now Dwayne Fisher on a double. Chance to get that lead out to 22 pins with a strike here.
And the 7 kicks down finally for him.
It's a little love tap, Jay. He just enough to get the pin come out of the channel. Great roll on the ball. And here's a great look at his form from the back. Again, the swing has to come a little bit to the inside to get that leverage, much like a golf swing. The balance at the foul line, the good extension. What a great game. I'd hate to see him leave the tour, Jay. He's got a lot of talent.
6'2", 170 pounds. One of his favorite hobbies is fast-pitch softball. He loves that game. If he keeps doing that, maybe he'll rethink that idea of leaving.
A win today would surely make him sit down and think about it for a long time, I think, Jim.
Devers finds himself down 32. He won the opening match 243 to 234 over D'Entremont. Then a 266 to defeat Mike Miller, who had 235. And a strike on 40 for Devers. That's 3 in a row.
And he rips him out. He's come in half pocket with a lot of heavy roll on the ball. The 5-pin takes out the 10. A great shot by Scotty. He's right back in sync now. And he has to be, because Dwayne Fisher doesn't seem like he's going to let up.
Third prize here is $9,000. Devers and Fisher battling to see who gets their shot at Jess Stayrook. Four in a row for Scotty. We'll be back with more of the Budweiser Touring Players Championship from Taylor Lanes in Michigan right after these messages from your local station. Here at the Taylor Lanes in Taylor, Michigan, we hope you're enjoying the Budweiser Touring Players Championship. Good to have you with us. Jay Randolph along with Earl Anthony. We promised we'd talk a little bit about Player of the Year honors. It's very important, of course. Amleto Monticelli is the reigning Player of the Year, and I think there are a couple of items we ought to look at.
I do too, Jay. It's a very close race, believe it or not. And here's a good look at the earnings. The current leading average is Monticelli, even though Chris Warren has won the most money at this point.
Monticelli with that 218.7. Warren with 3 titles. Parker Bone III with 3 titles. Penzak with 3 titles. And you see the TV appearances and those records there of how they've done on TV. And, of course, Penzak is 11-0 this year. Warren, 24 cashes. Monticelli with 22. Bone with 23. Penzak with 15. And you see how they finished in the top 24. You have a vote. I don't. Let me put you on the spot. What if I was asked you to vote right now? Could you? Would you?
Could I? Would I? Well, there are 3,400 people in the PBA, Jay, and they all have a vote. So I don't want to influence how they might think. And I think it's a real tight race between Chris Warren and, of course, last year or this current Bowler of the Year, Amleto Monticelli. If I had to vote, I'd probably vote for Frank Ellenberg.
Well, Frank, who works in our truck and is a great fella. I know that if Monticelli repeats, it will be the first time that a player on tour has repeated since you did it back in '82 and '83, and actually you won 3 years in a row.
And we're right back here now in our third match, 7th frame. Dwayne Fisher striking for his 5th consecutive time. He's got a 22-pin lead over Scott Bevers, and this guy could just keep striking forever once he gets lined up. He really throws a strong ball. He's got that kind of style where he can overpower the lane condition.
And that 3-year exemption into the Firestone would mean a great deal to Dwayne Fisher, who, as we mentioned, is pretty well decided that he's going to quit the tour as a regular touring pro. He's on target right now.
And there you see the power that he can generate on the bowling ball. He's looping it out over the third arrow, bringing it back, and just ripping the pins apart. It's fun to watch.
Fisher with 6 strikes in a row. Devers needs strikes now. He's going for his 5th strike in succession. Gets him.
And again, I like to bring this up because I think it's so important. The 2 players, both being left-handed, are playing extremely different angles. Mr. Fisher playing that third arrow with the big hook and all the power. Just the opposite, Scott Bevers on the edge of the lane, end over end roll, almost pointing the ball up to the pocket. Both successful.
All kinds of ways to get the job done, huh?
Right.
Under a lot of pressure, going in fine fashion.
And here's a real good look at Scott Bevers. Now remember, he's playing right on the edge of the lane. You see how he kind of loops the ball behind him, stands up at the foul line, does a lot of things you don't recommend people do, but there it is, 10 pins in the pit.
Fisher trying to make it 7 straight. He does. Bevers now has 6 straight. Boy, tremendous action here in this Touring Players Championship.
And here's the contrast. The much better arm swing, the great fundamentals. He's playing the third arrow, looping the ball out, as I mentioned. He's way toward the center of the lane, much as you would normally see a right-hander play, as opposed to a left-hander. Generally, the left-handers like to play out somewhere where Scotty Bevers is playing. It shows you the talent and the ability of some of the good young left-handed bowlers that are coming up on the tour, giving Mike Albee his run for his money. He's been the dominant left-hander for a number of years.
Dwayne Fisher. What a show he's putting on here. That is 8 in a row now. A lead of 32.
The most Scott Bevers can get by striking out in the 10th, as good as he's going, is 256. And Dwayne Fisher right now at a 258 pace, 9 spare would be a winner. 257. Obviously another strike would lock it up. We could have a tie.
Yes, we could. Wife Susan looking on.
Right, and a little nervous, obviously, and with the spare here, a score of 256. Scott Bevers would need 3 strikes, 10th, 11th, and 12th frames for a tie.
What a fine performance for Dwayne Fisher in his first championship round appearance of the year and only the 2nd of his career. 266.
Yeah, we made a mistake there in the score, Jay. I did. I was saying he could shoot 256 with a spare. I apologize. It's 266.
266 it is.
And so Dwayne Fisher was the winner.
He advances to the final against Jess Stayrook, and it'll be Scott Bevers taking down $9,000. Good job for Scott, coming from the number 5 position to finish 3rd. Here in the Touring Players Championship, it was Bevers 243 to 234 for D'Entremont in match 1. And then Bevers with a 266, 235 for Mike Miller. Bevers goes down to the feet as Dwayne Fisher comes through with a 266, Bevers at 221. And now it will be Fisher going up against Jess Stayrook for the championship. There is one of the great people in the world of bowling. The Golden Goose, they call him, Harry Golden, who will be retiring after more than 30 years as the PBA's national tournament director. He's babysat a lot of players over the years.
He has,
and he's so special to all of us.
He is, and he treats the players like their family, and this is really his family. And can you imagine 30 years of being on the road almost every week?
It won't be the same without Harry. Here's Dwayne Fisher. Right off the get-go, a 4-7-10 lead for Fisher.
And as so often happens, the players waiting to bowl that championship match, thinking what they're going for, all that money, the chance, as you've mentioned, to be in the Firestone for 3 years, and his first chance to win a championship, a major championship in his mind, and makes a bad shot. A little early with the release. Try to slide it over.
Oh, and an excellent effort there.
And this will be our first look at the tournament leader, Jess Stayrook, who has had a pretty good year. He's been bowling very, very well all year long. And in this tournament, Jay, he set a few records.
He has set a bunch of records. He broke the 32 game and the 56 game PBA records this week. And he got them all. And he broke the 56 game total with bonus pins also. 3 new records for him, and here is the style that has gotten the job done.
Here it is, and you watch, he walks straight to the foul line, brings the ball behind him, going right over the third arrow. The difference between his ball and Dwayne Fisher's ball is Dwayne Fisher gets more rotation. This young man here actually gets the ball well down the lane in the air before it hits the lane. He uses a lot of loft, a lot of strength in his game. He's a big, strong young man, from the waist up, very, very strong.
A 7-pin. Stayrook out of San Diego, California, 31 years of age. Had a 300 game here this week, averaged 237 on the TV pair. His second telecast of this year. In the opening match of the El Paso Open in July, he lost to Billy Hall. Telecast before that as the top seed in last year's Seattle Open. He defeated Joe Salvamini. League bowlers, you can now register to compete in the Bud Light National Bowling Hall of Fame tournament. 10th year for it, and it's the most pins over average qualifying, and you get a chance to go to St. Louis May 20th through the 23rd for stepladder finals and bowl side by side with Hall of Famers. ABC and WIBC stars. The winning team can take home $15,000. The registration fee is just $1. The proceeds benefit the National Bowling Hall of Fame and Museum. And contact your local bowling proprietor or call the National Bowling Hall of Fame at that number right there, 314-231-6340 for information. The Bud Light National Bowling Hall of Fame tournament in St. Louis. Fisher with that strike in the second. Third frame championship match. As always, our championship match, uninterrupted complete coverage as Fisher has the 6-pin down there.
It's amazing how your arm swing tightens up when it becomes the championship match, and I know both these young players want to win this very badly. Jess Stayrook has been the leader almost exclusively throughout the week. He's had just an outstanding scoring week, as we've mentioned already. He's going to have to get loose here very quickly because, as you've seen before, Dwayne Fischer can throw a lot of strikes.
Made a good comeback in his victory over Scott Bevers, $27,000 first prize. Stayrook, his 7th career championship round appearance. Here's the money breakdown. Devers winning $9,000, Miller $7,000, and D'Entremont $6,000 for their finishes. That was a little high, and Stayrook has left the 4-7 here in the third frame.
And this isn't the way Jess played all week. Now, during the week and during match play last night, he was opening up the lane a little bit more than that. By that I mean he was giving the ball more room and hooking it back to the pocket. Now he looks like he's trying to actually force the ball to stay on line, which isn't going to work because there's going to be the result, and he's not going to be lucky every time and break up those splits.
Dave Ferraro won this tournament in '88 and led Monticelli over Brian Foss last year. Monticelli finishing 67th here this week. Stayrook leading by 9.
Well, let's see if he can make a little adjustment here. He's been fortunate on a couple of shots that he didn't get the opens. He's going to have to open up the lane again. And again, I think it's just tension more than anything else at this point.
Well, Fisher open in that first frame is still very much in this match. Stayrook leaves the 6-10.
And here's a look at that last shot. Look at the muscle, the strength he uses. You can see he straightens out his leg at the foul line and uses a lot of leg strength and upper body strength to force the ball down the lane. And you can see his reaction just as he released the ball, that he knew that was going to hit the middle of the headpin. He feels fortunate not to get the split again.
Fisher is only down by 7 pins, and he's getting set to bowl here in the 4th frame of this championship match. Fisher was 36th after the 3rd round, jumped to 6th, then 3rd, and finished 2nd. looking good. He made the adjustment in that last match. He's trying to do it here.
And he's a little bit deeper. In other words, by that I mean he's a little more toward the center of the lane with his target area than Jess Stayrook is. And I think for Jess Stayrook to have a chance to beat this young man, he's going to have to make that kind of a move, get more to the center of the lane and give the ball more room to play. He's trying to force the ball into the pocket, whereas Dwayne Fischer is letting the ball roll out and bringing it back, and he's going to keep it in play. He's going to be tough to beat, this young man.
That 10-pin right at the end. His most recent win came in Brooklyn, New York, back in '88, a regional. His wife liked that one, and so did he.
And watch the ball. Remember, he's giving it more room, obviously, than Jess Stayrook is. And you see the pin action, the head pin going to the wall, coming back and taking out the 5 and the 10.
Now Stayrook is down by 3 pins.
And again, still trying to force the ball to the pocket rather than giving it the room that's necessary. And I'm surprised because Jess Stayrook is obviously not a rookie. He's been here before. He knows how to make good adjustments on the lanes.
He left the 4-7 in the third. Now leaves it again here in the 5th.
And almost missed it in the third, and where he almost chopped the 4 off the 7. It's not an easy spare. Cross lane with good ball speed and hard. Good shot. Here's a look at him going cross lane for the spare. He walks to the right, opens up his shoulders, throws the ball back to the left. Hard to do, but it's his style.
You mentioned how strong he is, Errol.
He's very strong, Jay, and physically, I mean, his upper body strength. And I think right now, this being the championship match, what's going through his mind more than there, he's opened up a little bit, gave it a chance. It's the first time he's made a move, and it was a good one.
And Stayrook with a strike in the 6th. Fisher up by 5.
The nerves are going, and what happens here? Here's a look at that strike. See, he's got the ball out almost to the area where Dwayne Fisher has gotten it, way out to the left, giving it a chance to come back. But many times at this point, championship match, and you're nervous, and you're not really sure if it's the lanes have changed or if it's you're making mistakes. But sometimes it takes a long time to make good adjustments.
And Fisher now with 3 in a row, up by 15. I want to thank all our friends at Bud Sports, Andy Davenport and his crew, and our director, Kevin Shank, our producer, of course, from NBC Sports, Jeff Himes, for all of the help. Frank Ellenberg in the truck, Annie, and all the gang. Been a wonderful fall tour for us, Earl. We really enjoyed it.
Well, they're very skilled and talented people, and it's really a pleasure for me to be part of it, Jay.
And a special thanks to our scorer, Chuck Pierce. Oh, it goes. A late 7.
Oh, my. And we're going to get another look at that one, folks. Now,
look at him.
Watch
He
this.
loved it.
You'll see, now watch, the ball's coming in behind the head pin a little bit, and you see the 4-pin go into the channel and come out just enough to tilt that 7.
And he is pleased. A little jump. He looked like Nureyev there. And a strike on 40 for Stayrook. He's not done. 2 in a row for him. The lead is 15. Stayrook, who likes to play games, darts, and pool, and golf, hand-eye coordination.
He's got lots of that.
Quite a competitor.
And he's made a good move here, Jay. He's actually made a great adjustment on the lanes. He's giving the ball a little more room. Instead of trying to force it to the pocket, he's letting it roll back up to the pocket.
Oh, good going.
We do have a match here.
His wife, Kathy, very pleased. Here it is. Watch that.
And a lot of players will nowadays do what you see Jess Stayrook. They won't watch their opponent. And there's a reason for that psychologically.
Fisher He's got it back together. That's 5 in a row for him in a lead of 15.
The reason they won't watch their opponent so many times is because they feel that if the other player gets a lucky break or something like that, it might disrupt their own concentration. And instead of concentrating on exactly what they're trying to do themselves with the bowling ball, they're thinking about how lucky he was or something. And this way, all Jess Stayrook is thinking about is what he's going to do with his next shot. 9th frame for Dwayne Fisher. Things are going his way, Jay. I'll tell you what. Remember that slap 7-pin last time on lane 39? He comes right back a little higher in the pocket, almost gets the 6-8, trips it out. What a great shot, great break for this young man. We might have him staying out here. He keeps going like this.
Only his 2nd television appearance his entire career now. Stayrook has really got to rev it up.
It's trouble. Oh, it stayed there.
And he got a break. Next Saturday, remember, Alcatraz, the escape-proof prison. You'll see on Sports World, Escape from Alcatraz next Saturday at 3 Eastern Time. And it all begins with a swim, the incredible test of human endurance, 1¼ mile swim, those shark-infested waters, and it makes it one of the world's most dangerous triathlons. The Escape from Alcatraz next Saturday on NBC Sports, 3 Eastern. See who's going to escape with a victory here. And a big strike on 39 for Jess Stayrook. We've had a marvelous show by these touring players in this championship here at Taylor Lanes in Taylor, Michigan.
All right, the first time in the match that I can't even say it. Jess can take the lead here with this strike since early on, after the early open by Dwayne Fisher. 2nd ball, 10th frame.
That's 6 in a row. And he's back in business. Jess recently opened a vending machine business out in Phoenix, Arizona.
And a great finish, Jay.
Outstanding. A 244. And now Fisher must strike.
If there was ever a moment in this young man's life that was all important, this is it. He's never ever had an opportunity like this before. 1 ball, 1 strike to win this championship.
Stayrook finishing with 7 strikes. He looked down that lane and just looked and looked and looked. Never moved. Never took his eye off the pins until they went down.
What a thrill. His heart is probably going 100 miles an hour. You can see he's thrilled. He doesn't want to show any emotion at this point, and there is the disappointment. It's obvious on the face of Jess Stayrook, who has had such a wonderful week.
But what a story this is. Dwayne Fisher. Fisher leaves the 6th pin. And here's our winner. And look at the tears of joy. His wonderful wife. They have 2 young sons. He's looking to go into another career, but I can't wait to ask him what this is going to mean to him. I know it's going to mean a great deal. First of all, it means that 3-year exemption into the Firestone, his first title, $27,000. You can see it in his wife's eyes. A happy young winner. 248 for Fisher, 244 for Stayrook. We'll be back to visit with a first-time winner.
NBC Sports coverage of the PBA Fall Tour has been brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. By the American Bowling Congress, the bowling industry leader since 1895. By Extra Strength Tylenol Gel Caps. For everyday pain, nothing works better. And by Chevy Trucks. More people are winning with the heartbeat of America.
What a marvelous win for Dwayne Fisher, his first ever. Congratulations.
Thank you, Jay. I just want to say a special thank you to the people at Budweiser for giving us the opportunity to bowl here, and everyone here at Terra Lane, especially the DiBiase family. They did a great job.
John Conti from Anheuser-Busch will present that bird of happiness, the beautiful Anheuser-Busch trophy.
Dwayne, congratulations on your first tournament.
And Adeline with the check, $27,000. Come on in here. Thanks to the DiBiase family. Great week.
Thank you. It has been wonderful, and you've done it all week. How about if we give this one to your son?
Ryan.
I'll take that.
Okay. And a very happy family it is. Very quickly, you're thinking about not playing. You got a 3-year exemption. You'll probably play a little more. Congratulations.
Yeah, I know there's at least 3 Firestones I'll bowl in, and I'll be back here next year. I'm not sure how many other ones I'm going to bowl, but I'm going to continue to bowl somewhat.
A wonderful guy and a wonderful family, and congratulations. There he is, your champion of the Touring Players Championship. Don't forget, next Saturday afternoon, the bowling shootout on NBC. For Earl Anthony and all the gang, a reminder that danger is coming up. So long from the Taylor Lanes in Taylor, Michigan.